Hey guys, so I am in the Chicago airport right now. Going to be back in Chattanooga about 4 a.m., maybe 5 a.m. So I will not be at school today. Um, but you should have just watched Act 5, so you at least get to see one rendition of Macbeth's demise, right? And Lady Macbeth's demise, the famous scene where she's trying to wash her hands and the doctor's watching her. And so, what we're going to do for the rest of class today is I'm going to share with you what the essay prompt is, give you some examples, and then there's a discussion prep question on Canvas that you will answer. You'll be working in class, and then you'll be working for homework, and then you'll submit that by class on Wednesday. And then we'll begin to pick up and we'll keep working on this essay. So, here's the essay prompt. Shakespeare's Macbeth is a story that demonstrates how a variety of forces have the potential to pull us off of the path home, the path to wholeness and truth. Right? We've seen that. There's so many things in this story that lead Macbeth, lead Lady Macbeth to their demise, right? Forces that pull them off of the good path. Your task for this essay is to identify a claim the text is making about what can draw us off the path home. So you're going to name one thing that can draw us off the path home, as seen in Macbeth, and how it can cause us to leave the path. Right? How did it cause Macbeth and Lady Macbeth to leave the path? What was it? How did it do it? Consider all of the various forces that led to Macbeth and Lady Macbeth's decline, and then pick one to focus on, backing it up with textual evidence and reasoning. All right, so what one thing that drew Macbeth or Lady Macbeth off the path home and how that relates to us and how it ended up pulling them off the path. All right, so you can't just name it, you have to say how it does it. And I'll give you some examples. So here's some things to consider. Maybe you write about Lady Macbeth and others who surround Macbeth, right? What do they tell us about how the people around us can lead us off the right path? Right? So Macbeth is surrounded by people that draw him away from the things that he knows are right and true. How do they do that? All right, maybe you decide to write about the witches. All right, what do the witches represent, and how do they lead Macbeth off the good path? Right, so thinking, we might not overtly see witches, right, but we do encounter forces of darkness. We encounter things that aren't quite true, that are slightly twisted truth, right? How does that lead us off of the good path? Macbeth's desires, right? Slash how he responds to those desires, right? He wants power, he wants glory, he wants a name and fame. Those aren't always bad things, but how he goes about them does, right? What desires does Macbeth have that are dangerous? How do those desires lead him off the good path? And what can we learn about that? Right? And then there's so many more. Don't just limit yourself to this, right? You could write about, how much easier it is to hurt others instead of have to deal with, guilt within yourself. You could write about uh, what happens when you don't repent, right? When you think that you can just keep doing bad things and that's going to fix things, right? So please do not, I don't want to see 24 different essays that are just about these three topics. I want you guys to wrestle with it a little bit before you just submit something and say, well, Mr. Harvey thought of it. All right. So here's what you're going to do for class today. Don't worry yet about drafting a claim, right? I don't want you to get hung up on the wording and be like, I don't know exactly how to say this. We'll work on that more on Wednesday. Instead, I want you to think about the broad idea that you want to write about. All right. I want you to try and identify one thing that led Macbeth or Lady Macbeth to their demise, right? I'm just going to write this down to simplify it for you. Let's do this. One thing that led to Macbeth's and Lady Macbeth's demise. All right, so that's the first thing you're going to do is try and identify one thing, right? And if you're saying the witches, what does that mean symbolically, right? If you say, well, Lady Macbeth led to Macbeth's demise, okay, what does she represent? Does she represent friendship? Does she represent the people we love, right? You're going to try and say what it represents. And then you're going to name how that thing led him or her astray, right? What was it that it did that somehow led them off the good path? All right. On Canvas, you're then going to reply to a discussion post. And what the discussion post is going to ask you is to identify what you plan on writing about. And then you're going to find 3 pieces of direct textual evidence, right? That even if you don't have the wording yet, you say, hey, I know I'm going to write about Lady Macbeth and their relationships, or I know I'm going to write about Macbeth's inability to deal with his own guilt, and that led him astray. So if you're writing about that, you can at least find pieces of textual evidence that deal with that topic. Even if you haven't worded it yet, you still get the general idea. All right? So get to work. Be thinking, again, one thing that led to Macbeth and Lady Macbeth's demise, and then how that thing led them astray, led them off the good path. And you'll submit that discussion post by Wednesday. And can't wait to see you guys.